Hello, my name is Travis Hallman. I am the lead administrator for the Ask a Libertarian Facebook fan page. I'm here at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, Nevada with Adam Kokesh. Adam Kokesh is seeking the nomination of the Libertarian Party in 2020 for president. The Overton window is a political theory that describes as a narrow window the range of ideas that the public will find acceptable, and that states that the political viability of an idea is defined primarily by this rather than by politicians' individual preferences. Overton described a spectrum from more free to less free with regard to government intervention, oriented vertically on an axis to avoid comparison with the left-right political spectrum. As the spectrum moves or expands, an idea at a given location may become more or less politically acceptable. Mr. Kokesh, what steps are you currently taking to push the public upward toward the more freedom side of the Overton window?
Well, I have to start by challenging the premise of the question, as any good libertarian really should with any question right now. But I don't think that's necessarily what we need to do to achieve a free society. And the apparent assumption behind your question is that dissolving the federal government, what I'm proposing with this platform, is outside the Overton window. And even though the definition of that is very precise, there's some subjective where are the lines of the window, right? And from what I've experienced from going out and traveling the country and talking to people, it's not like, oh my God, you want to, dissolve the federal government? That's crazy. That could never happen. Most of them say, no, that sounds like a good start. And even the people who do object don't freak out. I mean, if you want to say like it's outside of the Overton window, that there are people who have a negative reaction response to this concept, it's a pretty small part of the population. By and large, people already are on board with this. I know you want to focus on the Overton window. I think it's more what I'm doing is not so much moving the Overton window, but revealing the full extent of it. So maybe that's just a rephrasing, maybe it's a little semantic distinction, but I don't think of what I'm doing as broadening the Overton window. Like, now we can talk about things that we could never talk about, but like, hey, look guys, let me show you, within the Overton window, there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about that would bring about massive social change.
I think that's an astounding answer. It's very insightful, and I think that I can rephrase my next question to be suiting to your idea.
Okay.
How should other libertarians work toward a free society as you have?
There's two things, and this is really pretty simple. One, change how people think, right? Change the paradigm, win hearts and minds, get people to understand. That's the education of it. But that has its limitation. And a lot of us as libertarians, we want to think in the abstract, but we have to acknowledge that we're the exception to the rule here. We're the nerdy ones. We're the ones who really want to look into these issues of social problems from this analytical, philosophical, scientific perspective. Most human beings are not like us, and that's okay. They're creatures of pragmatism. So it's how do we apply our principles to create policy that's practical for improving people's lives. And this is where localization is the answer that I've come to, is the only real viable one through politics and changing the political reality, because it brings people together. I'm not going to fight you about what your idea of government should be. I'm not going to fight you about your ideology or philosophy or anything like that. Just, if you're going to have government, if you want government, don't you want it to be as local as possible? Don't you want it to be in line with your needs, the needs of the community, as much as possible, as opposed to some corrupt, far-off central authority? It's kind of a no-brainer. We take government apart from the top down, we lose all the fat, all the waste, all the destruction, and abuse that happens inevitably as you concentrate power and you end up with more corruption. So how do we move forward? That's it, is decentralizing power. And I wouldn't be advocating for this if I didn't see it as the natural course of human progress anyway. I see what's happening in the world and all the secession movements that we have all over the world that this is the trend of people demanding self-government. Let's give them the tools. Let's take leadership and show them, hey, you apply our principles. Here's an easy way forward for everybody.
So that's working towards a free society by decentralizing. I'd like to ask you, is there a wrong tact for people to work towards a free society, such as offense, vile language, or violence?
Well, I don't know if this is a loaded question or if I'm making too many assumptions here, but this is one place that Arvin Vohra has had a major voice in the Libertarian Party, at least in terms of messaging. And I love Arvin. I think he's a great dude. I think his philosophy is on point. He's a passionate activist and a great speaker, but tactically he is absolutely dead wrong. And I wouldn't say in a dangerous way, but yeah, in a counterproductive way to say we need to be inflammatory in a way that's going to push some people away to get the people who are ready. And I think that's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how people wake up. And like even that term "wake up," like it's not really accurate because you don't wake up and go back to sleep. You know, you cannot unlearn what you have learned and unsee what you have seen when you see government for what it really is. And it's a process. You know, for some of us, maybe, you know, you read one book or you watched my YouTube channel for a weekend and that was it, and you read some Wikipedia articles and you go, okay, I get it now. Good. But even for those of us who go through the process that way, and for me it was really 10 years. 10 years to go from calling myself a libertarian to understanding what it meant. So every time I remind myself of that, it reminds me to be really patient and really welcoming and really accepting. And I think we can be as much in people's faces as you could possibly be with this message and still be presenting in a way that's of universal appeal and welcoming to everything. So when you have those two options, be more welcoming, be less welcoming. When you're trying to grow a movement, I think strategically the answer is pretty obvious.
I would like to clarify, just to be sure. Would you agree with the next statement that there's not necessarily a wrong way, but there's always a better way?
Yeah, I mean it's when you say like a way to wake people up. I know there is. There are. If your goal is to make libertarians out of non-libertarians, it's never as simple as there's a right or wrong. There's a spectrum of, you know, most efficient to least efficient in the realm of counterproductive. So yeah, of course.
Ask a Libertarian Facebook fan page is spreading awareness of libertarianism and informing non-libertarians while empowering those who support liberty on a daily basis. This is your opportunity to be empowered and let us advocate libertarianism for you at facebook.com/askalibertarian.